Okay, let's get started. What started as a simple survey to identify women and minority-owned businesses for cohort 11 actually sparked a lot of interest. And this led us to partnering with several different local groups that are focused on supporting our community, our businesses, and the underrepresented in both. I would like to take a moment to thank cohort 11. You know who you are, you know how hard you worked, and I hope you enjoy what you see today. We'd also like to thank these partners for their continuous support. Without them, we wouldn't have had their valuable insight and all of the networking that they provide regarding this project. We appreciate every one of you, and we hope you'll continue to participate in this project. Today's data was collected from multiple places. The two surveys, one cohort 11's original survey, the Women and Minority Directory Survey established by the partners, and also BBHAM's Blacklisted. The effort of combining these different data sources was immense, and it was intense. I think they will all agree. Okay. Let's discuss what we're going to discuss in today's presentations. We're going to cover demographics, barriers, social impacts, and then we're going to look at the application of the business information, like discussing the 4th Avenue Business District, and then also directory concepts. They've worked from 2 core data sets, and they've used tools like Power BI and Tableau for today's visual components. Before I turn it over to our first team, I would like to say thank you to Riddell. Riddell took the time to go through and scan 600 plus records looking for duplicates where we had entries from owners in both surveys, and they were also represented in the blacklisted data. Okay, now to get things started, I'll call up Ashley and Jasmine to go ahead and turn on their videos and unmute. Ashley, take it away.
Thank you, Robin. Good morning. I'm Ashley Badgelia, and I will be speaking to you about a few of our survey demographics. These demographics help lay a foundation to identify obstacles facing women and minority-owned businesses. In these surveys, there are 612 total survey respondents, with only 207 respondents answering as the owner or on behalf of the owner. Out of 207 participants, which the racial demographics are on the bottom left, 46% identified as Black or African American. If you will look at the top right of the slide, when asked about the gender identity of the owner, 67% identified as women, 16% identified as men, and 14% chose not to answer. Lastly, on the bottom right, you will note that the top 2 responses for business ownership show 56 of the businesses are owned by women, and with 37% of those being owned by minority women. Next, Jasmine is going to break down even more of our survey demographics. Jasmine?
Thank you, Ashley. Good morning. I am Jasmine Giddens, and I will be giving an overview of the ages of businesses as well as identifying businesses that are brick and mortar. What is a brick and mortar business? A brick and mortar business is one that operates from a physical storefront as opposed to other retailing methods such as online shopping. This slide contains the number of brick and mortar businesses from both surveys. The left side of the graph shows the number of businesses throughout the years, which are shown on the bottom of the graph. As we can see, there are a high number of businesses which are less than 10 years old. I also explored the target population for businesses. For example, businesses that sell to other businesses is represented in dark blue. My research found that a majority of brick and mortar and online sell to other companies. It is interesting that online second majority sold to customers, while brick and mortar second majority sells to both. As internet use has grown, online stores have taken a larger share of consumer dollars. Therefore, it is important to identify and give recognition to brick and mortar businesses. Along with ascertaining businesses that were brick and mortar, I have identified how long they have been established. As revealed on this slide, more online businesses were started in 2015 with a total of 39. The year 2010 is close behind with a total of 11. Since 2010, global e-commerce sales have increased worldwide thanks to technological advancements, which have allowed small businesses to reach a broad range of consumers. Now that I have provided some insight of the numbers and types of business, I will now turn this presentation over to our next team, Phil and Chanel.
Thanks, Jasmine. Good morning, everyone. My name is Phil Sims. We all understand barriers, right? They prevent forward progress. It's not just enough for us to identify the businesses for the directory. We need to identify the barriers as well. If we can get a clearer picture of the barriers that people are facing, we can work to provide better resources and strive to provide equal opportunity for everyone. Between our current survey, the original survey from Cohort 11, and BHAM's Blacklisted, we had a total of 612 entries, with over half being sourced from the Blacklisted directory. I would also like to highlight the fact that we had a strong showing of support for these underrepresented businesses, with 14% of our entries submitted by a friend, ally, or patron of the business. This was encouraging and gave us insight into just how many people were filling out this survey that cared about particular women and minority-owned businesses and wanted to give exposure to them. The other 32% of respondents were submitted on behalf of the business owner or by the business owner. In order to figure out what barriers were most common for these women and minority-owned businesses, we needed to filter them down because those who answered as the owner or on behalf of the business received a subsequent question on the survey regarding potential barriers that they may face. People who were presented the barriers were asked to respond to the following barriers, which in this slide are listed in order from most agreed upon at the top to least agreed upon at the bottom. Now, this list is not a full list, but if we've heard anything in the past 14 weeks, it's record counts and sample sizes. The barriers you see presented on the screen currently are the barriers we'll dive deeper into for the rest of the presentation. In my next slide, let's dig deeper. We ask respondents to select on a scale of strongly agree to strongly disagree whether or not these particular barriers affected them and their businesses. To make this information more digestible, we grouped the 5 different answer types by agree, which is shown in blue, neutral, which is represented by gold, and disagree by black. We call this the levels of agreement. So just to add a little more clarity, if someone strongly agreed or somewhat agreed, they're grouped by the agree color in blue. As you can see, the number 1 barrier most respondents agreed was truly a barrier: lack of access to funding with 57%, with lack of access to business networks close behind at 47%. I hope this helps provide a picture of what our survey respondents believe are barriers. And we're going to take a deeper dive and look at these barriers individually to see how it breaks down. I'm now going to pass it off to Chanel, who's going to talk to us about 2 of these barriers.
Thank you, Phil. I'm Chanel Castleberry, and the 2 barriers I will be talking about are difficulty obtaining licenses and bonds, and lack of access to business networks and critical information. We thought obtaining licenses and bond would be a difficult barrier for the businesses, because if you don't have the money and time up front, it's difficult to get the bond without the funds. However, in the survey, we noticed that this is not a barrier for our survey respondents. Of 163 respondents, 48% disagreed, 37 were neutral, and only 17% agreed that it was a barrier. As we know for our Hispanic community, that this can truly be a major barrier, we hope to have gained more responses to have a better sample of the subgroup to study. On the lack of access to business network and critical information, we noticed that it is a barrier for our respondents. Of 164 respondents, 47% agreed, 29% disagreed, and 24% were neutral. As you can see on the right, I have a chart with the race breakdown where African Americans lead in all levels of agreement. Although the numbers of businesses owned by these groups are growing, women and minorities are still less likely to run their own business than a white non-Hispanic man. In 2007, women owned just 29% of all small businesses, and those from minority background own just 23%. Closing this gap in entrepreneurship, it is critical to the continued economic growth for all of its members. And now I will be passing it on to Zakiyah and Hayley, who will be discussing additional barriers and discrimination.
Zakiyah, you're muted.
Thank you, Chanel. Hello, I'm Hayley Range. And I'll be discussing how the barrier of discrimination exists even in the online realm of social media. I'll briefly explain how the algorithms are used to create the flow of content on social media. Algorithms that are the foundation of social media platforms can be defined as technical means that sort posts based on relevancy instead of published time. These algorithms are written with machine language by codes. These codes then manage the flow of content and control what people see. Algorithms are used to learn our patterns, and from those patterns, they sell us things with the content that they show us. Further research shows 39% of our respondents felt their businesses were neither positively or negatively affected by barriers via social media. Of the 36% that agreed to the feeling like they were negatively affected, 21% were Black-owned businesses. The takeaway here is that most Black business owners who took our survey felt that algorithms were just one more hurdle they had to tackle in the business world. Now I'll pass it on to Zakiyah.
Thank you, Hayley, for your coverage of barriers encountered on social media platforms. Your observations were very insightful. Hello, I am Zakiyah Paul, and I will be discussing the barriers of lack of access to business education and the lack of access to funding, investments, financial loans, which are the biggest and most significant barrier to all business, but has a more lasting impact to women and minority businesses. Lack of access to business education. So you have discovered your passion and have decided to start a business. Exciting, right? As the temporary euphoria wears off, many of you are plagued with a plethora of questions. How do I get started? Is the market viable enough for me to enter? Who are my competitors? And I have no experience running a business. How can I get this training? And where do I get the money from? Business education is a barrier to most starting businesses, but predominantly so for women and minorities, because of which many don't have business owners in their families or friends to utilize information. As we initially observed in this slide, we may think it may not be true or that things may be changing since responses are close in proximity and have only a difference of 5 to 4 percentage points. However, upon closer examination, you will find race and gender factors do affect responses and results. Gender and race bias does exist, cited by key.com. Businesses owned by women of color and minorities typically grow at a slower rate compared to their Caucasian male and female counterparts, believe so due to their education levels and derived networks. Also, I must note there's a degree of variance due to the respondents that didn't specify and the trending nature of our survey. Lack of access to funding as a barrier. This is our biggest barrier. Money, can you ever have enough of it? Our respondents identify lack of access to funding, investments, and financial loans as the leading barrier to starting a business. Women in the US typically earn 80 cents for every dollar a man earns. Women of color earn 61 cents of every dollar a white male earns. Native American women, 58 cents, Latinas, 53 cents. Asian American women are the exception, earning 85 cents for every dollar a white male earns. Why does this matter, you may ask? Less take-home money means women and minorities have less ability to substantially save and personally fund their own businesses, as well as less collateral when applying for business loans. Lack of access or difficulty in pitching for and securing seed money is the major reason that companies fail or experience slow growth, coupled with not being properly educated in how to manage your business finances and capital, which is a recipe for even personal disaster. Investment money available breakdown. Team consists of all women receive just 1.9 billion of the 85 billion total. Let's pause for a moment. Not for a moment in memorial, as if someone died, but didn't a death truly occur? I surmise so. All the hopes and dreams of never realized great business owners that could have offered revolutionary products or services. All women teams received just 1.9 billion of the 85 billion total invested by venture capitalists, while male counterparts received a staggering 66.9 billion, approximately 79% of the total funds. Although 2.2% seems meager, it was the largest stake since being measured in 2006, with the exception of 2014. Progress is being made. While the number of women-owned businesses grew 58% from 2007 to 2018. Venture sites, firms owned by women of color grew nearly 3 times the rate at 163%. Latinas grew even faster at 172%, Asian Americans 105%, and Native Americans 76%. Businesses grew more slowly than for women of color in general, but faster than overall women-owned businesses. Key takeaways. How can we keep this ambition going? At large, we can change policies. We can increase access to capital and finance. We can increase access to women and minority-owned certification programs. We can be a branch, offer mentorship, help someone just starting out, offer affordable childcare resources. Women and minority business owners, they can actually take steps themselves to improve their success. They can build their network, increase their exposure by participating in things like this directory. They could purposely seek out mentors. They can leverage national resources that support development of their company, Small Business Administration, Alabama SCORE, Rev Birmingham. They can increase their visibility and grow their leadership skills by participating and volunteering in nonprofits and agency boards. They can connect on social media platforms to increase awareness of their profile, learn about related developments and opportunities, and sell their products and services. They can also participate in programs and contests. And how can we support as individuals? We can intentionalize, conscientiously support women and minority business, suppliers, friends, and family. Maximizing our contributions is key to a stronger and healthier economy overall, job creation in large communities, and upward economic mobility for women and marginalized people and their families. Thank you for your time and attention. Next, we have Sarah and Josh presenting on the historic 4th Avenue District.
Thank you, Zakiyah. Hello, everyone. I am Sarah Barlow. My partner Josh and I will be discussing the historic 4th Avenue Business District here in Birmingham. According to the survey data, 22% of businesses agree that both a lack of access to business education and a lack of access to funding investments, financial loans are barriers that they face or have faced. 12% were neutral on both, and 13% disagreed that they are not both a barrier for their business. Of those that agreed that the lack of access of business education and funding investments and financial loans have been a barrier, mostly offer different types of services, varying from professional, scientific, and technical services to retail and dining. All but 5 are primarily owned by Black or African Americans. According to the 2018 Urban Impact Annual Report, the 4th Avenue Business District is made up of 70% African American owned businesses. 40% of those businesses indicated the need for microloans. 33% of those businesses are woman owned. And there are 10 legacy families that have been operating businesses in this district for 50 or more years. Green Acres Cafe and Nelson Brothers Cafe being the most well-known. And thanks to the efforts of Urban Impact and Blacklisted, 4th Avenue Historic District is in the process of receiving new investments, assistance with success and management, and preservation of the history of this district. With the way shopping trends are shifting, there is a much higher need for an online presence. According to Birlow statistics, in 2017, an estimated 2.14 billion people worldwide purchased goods online. Now let's take a deeper look at the businesses in the 4th Avenue Urban Impact Development District. Of the 55 businesses in this district that we attained data from in our newest survey from Cohort 14, along with the original survey data from Cohort 11 and BBHAM's Blacklisted Directory, 29% of those businesses do not have a website, whereas the other 71% do. Taking that a step farther, 3 of the 4 restaurants offer delivery, but only 1 of the 5 shops offer an online shopping experience. And the majority of the businesses offering services do not offer any form of online sale of service. If a business isn't offering their goods and services online, they're losing out on a huge chunk of business. Creating an online platform for this historic business district could bring life and prosperity back to this area. As I previously mentioned, funding is a barrier that our businesses face. If funding for a brick and mortar store is a barrier, then start with an online store or kiosk. If the restaurant isn't receiving enough foot traffic, offer delivery services to supplement income. Our suggestion to help overcome these barriers is to create an online shopping experience for the historic 4th Avenue Business District. On a platform like we will discuss later, stores could be charged a rental fee that would allow the business to use the platform to sell their goods and services. This fee could go to cover the technical side of the website, as well as funding remodels of historic buildings in the area, repaving roads, creating new spaces for new tenants to bring businesses and life back into this area. And I just wanted to pause for just a moment to thank the partners for sharing this information and allowing us to show what areas can be improved to help this historic area grow and thrive. Now, here's Josh to delve into the history of the 4th Avenue District.
Thank you to my esteemed colleague, Sarah, for that splendid presentation. I am Josh Howell. The 4th Avenue Business District began out of a time of Jim Crow laws coupled with segregation. The area of the original 4th Avenue North District encompassed a 3-block stretch of 4th Avenue and the adjacent half block south of 4th Avenue along 17th and 18th Streets. What started with one business on September 2nd, 1899, now has 55 Black-owned businesses in the original historic 4th Avenue District as reported by Blacklisted. Visualize this district as one of the oldest lifestyle centers in the United States, rivaling the Atlantic City Boardwalk and the current day Summit Shopping Center. Now think about how many people you know that are unaware of the 4th Avenue Business District in the Birmingham metro area. What about Alabama? What about in the rest of the country? There is an annual number of 350,000 visitors to this integral part of Birmingham's metro area. Of the businesses in this district that we obtained data from in our newest survey from Cohort 14, along with original survey data from Cohort 11 and Birmingham's Blacklisted Directory, there are a total of 4 restaurants, 5 retail shops, 1 bar, 2 live event venues, and 43 storefronts, offering a wide array of professional services in the 4th Avenue Urban Impact Development District. 25 of the businesses are owned by women. We know the numbers will vary as more information is compiled. As a community, we want to see the 4th Avenue Urban Impact Development District prosper and grow. We also want to share the history. To support the business in the historic 4th Avenue Business District in the interim, we suggest the best way to proceed is building a virtual mall site specific to the stores in Birmingham, catering to an online shopping experience with a tour of the historic sites located in the 4th Avenue Urban Impact Development District. A great example of this is the Black Virtual Mall that just recently launched in July 2021. It is the first virtual mall to host all Black business owners. They offer everything from retail services, dining, and entertainment. In the first month of operation, their top traffic store received over 1,200 visits. In these pictures, you can see how simple the platform is to use. Once you enter the mall, you can click on the store name. This directs you to an image of the storefront where one can enter and peruse the wares the store has to offer, beginning your shopping journey. Expect some very interesting things coming up in the rest of the presentation. Thank you for your time. Here is Kendall, Yanisa, Mina, and Erika.
Thank you, Sarah and Josh, for the beautiful insight on the historic 4th Avenue Business District. I am Kendall Jackson. Exposure and network. This directory allows us to promote exposure to these businesses. Establishing a brand can seem like an impossible feat, and that is where the network comes into play. The women and minority-owned business owners have reported that expanding their network is tough to achieve. The concept dashboards and websites that will follow provides a potential resource that aids in more avenues to increase their network by being included in this directory. Women and minority-owned businesses are facing various barriers, as you have heard from my colleagues throughout this presentation. So we believe that this directory aims to provide visibility to the people who have completed our survey. Now we'll pass it off to Yanisa.
Thank you, Kendall. Hello, I am Yanisa Odong. I would like to present the Women and Minority-Owned Business Directory. The tools I use are Google Site Builder and Tableau Publics. The idea of creating this website is to make it easy for users to navigate through the directory and search for businesses, to make it easier for the businesses and partners to keep costs low and be able to share information. Data in this website will be automatically updated with the database. Next slide, please. I will walk you through each page in this slide. The homepage is the logo of Women and Minority-Owned Business Directory, which designed and created by Hayley to create an awareness to the public toward the directories. I add the category icon for users to select what they are interested in. The icon also made the site more visually appealing. For the About WMOB page, this page provides an objective of the directory of being a comprehensive data that will be used by organizations to provide resources and service for business development to companies that are often overlooked by conventional resource systems and highlight a collaboration with partners. Go to service page, please. For the data on each category page, I am using Tableau as a tool to visualize the data. Then I embed code into Google Site. There are 5 categories of the business on this site. 1, drink, pay; 2, eat; 3, location services; 4, services; and 5, shop. Each page has category name, business name, website or social media, physical address, and postal code. User can click on a business name or URL link, which will directly lead to a business website or social media. User can also hover over the color dot, which represent postal code, and see a tooltip, which provide more details of a business. Next is the resource page. On this page, there is a collection of data for a directory, a map that displays a postal code of each business. Each color dot has a tooltip, which show business name and postal code. For the second part, there will be 5 categories that user can click on. This collection will work the same way as individual category page. Next is the contact page. The last page is contact. I use Google Form to create a form that allows users to communicate with the directory for any question or if they want to add business to the directory. Thank you, Taylor. Next, I will hand it off to Kendall.
Thank you, Anissa. So I wanted to give a brief overview of what Browns Valley represents. Browns Valley is a nonprofit early stage venture investment platform that supports high growth, innovation, and technology-enabled companies created by diverse, underrepresented, and underestimated founders. Their mission is to create education to opportunity pipeline for the marginalized in tech. I have utilized Power BI to create a concept dashboard that could be useful for Browns Valley. It follows the same color scheme as from the logo and their website design. My dashboard is broken down into 2 major categories, women and minorities. The map provides a real-time location that is filtered by postal code of the businesses, and you can see that as you zoom into the Birmingham area. As you zoom into the Birmingham area, you can see the bubbles get bigger by the more businesses within that certain postal code. By clicking the minority services, another page comes up with the business broken down by services and with a map to match. Next, we will click on drink and play. And when you click on that, the business information along with websites and socials pop up, and we can click back on services to get back to that main page. So now you click services again, and it will navigate to the service list and will be more of the same. Now we can click on the home page from here, and we can filter to the women owned. So this is the same page as the idea from the minority owned business directory, but only tailored to women owned services and businesses. This dashboard will allow us to provide exposure as mentioned in the previous slides and to create a better Birmingham. And now we will go to my next visualization for the Birmingham Business Alliance. The Birmingham Business Alliance actively works to improve the lives of all people in the Birmingham region. They accomplish this by cultivating high quality jobs and a resilient economy to create a better Birmingham. The vision is to create and promote a thriving, equitable economy for all of Birmingham. And this sample dashboard that I have created mimics those core values. This dashboard offers the same functionality as my concept for Browns Valley, so I won't have to click through it. But it does the same thing, but it's just a more detailed layout to represent what the BBA offers and what their website looks like. So thank you for your time, and now we're passing off to Mina to discuss her dashboard and more.
Thank you, Kendall. Hello, everyone. My name is Mina Williams. With the data provided with permission by our survey respondents and BBHAM Blacklisted, I created concepts for how this directory could be visualized for 2 of our partner organizations using Microsoft Power BI. The first is for HICA, the Hispanic Interest Coalition of Alabama. Their mission is to build a community development and advocacy organization that champions economic equality, civic engagement, and social justice for Latino and immigrant families in Alabama. My concept highlights Hispanic and Latino-owned businesses Taylor, please filter for that. But this could also be filtered for all demographics represented in our directory. We also filter for minority-owned. Results can be filtered by the business category. Let's do services. Okay. The table at the bottom populates with businesses that match the filter selections. The Clear Selections button removes all active filters. Users can search by business name. If you type lumbar into the search for me, please. All right, and when you hover over the map, it'll provide tooltips with more information for the business. Again, Clear Selections will clear all active filters. Clicking on the associated hyperlinks in the table will redirect you to business websites. Thank you so much, Taylor. Let's show them my second concept. The second dashboard I made is for an organization very dear to me, the Magic City Acceptance Center. They are dedicated to providing a brave and affirming space for the LGBTQ community in Alabama. The interface for this concept matches the first. You'll notice that the LGBTQ icon is at the top here. I wanted to feature the specific groups that these organizations represent first. My hope is that as the directory grows, we will see more representation for these groups. For both of my concepts, I wanted to brand them in a way that complements these organizations' current websites with a design that is simple and intuitive to navigate. Taylor, will you click the information button in the top right? This button takes you to a credits page where you'll find my sources for the design elements that I used. Thank you. Making this information available to our partner organizations helps these business owners increase their professional networks and connects them with the vital resources provided by these organizations. Next, I'm going to kick it over to Erika for her partner concept.
Thank you, Mina. Hi, everyone. I am Erika Dobbins, and today I would like to present to you another potential directory dashboard that we could utilize, that could be utilized by our partners and give more exposure to underrepresented businesses. To create this dashboard, I worked with data sourced primarily from Birmingham's Blacklisted with the additional survey data from cohort 11 and 14. You will see a smaller set of data used in this dashboard compared to my other colleagues, and this is due to considering the privacy of our survey respondents who chose not to share their information with our partners at this time. The number of businesses for my dashboard specifically have been filtered down to only include Black or African American business owners to better serve the needs of my branding inspiration. The main software I used to create this dashboard was Tableau Public. This is a data visualization software that can be easily embedded into our partners' websites and accessed for free by any users. Before we begin, I would like to share some information about the partner organization that I used as my branding inspiration. Birmingham is a program born from Urban Impact whose mission is to push Birmingham to become its best self by equipping all of its Black entrepreneurs with the business knowledge, encouragement, social networks, and resources needed to be competitive in Birmingham's changing and expanding marketplace. Blacklisted, Birmingham's Black business and nonprofit directory, was created by the program Birmingham and is what this dashboard will be catered towards. Now I'm going to demonstrate how the dashboard can be navigated by users. Once you access the dashboard, you can begin your business search by selecting one of the main categories provided on the left. These categories were based off of the survey responses provided by my cohort and cohort 11 survey data. Taylor, would you please click the locations button for us? Once you have clicked a category, the map and business list will be filtered with businesses who fall within this category. And to learn more about the business, you can hover over the populated dot on the map where their information is provided as a tooltip. If you're not sure the business you're looking for falls within one of these 5 main categories, you can choose to browse all the categories by clicking the Browse All Category button on the lower left side of the dashboard. This takes you to a similar setup where we have provided the top 10 most selected subcategories from our survey respondents. These work just like the main category page and will filter the page and business list based off of the selected category. Taylor, could you go ahead and choose the apparel category for us? Awesome, thank you. I would also like to point out the drop-down feature to the top right that will filter the directory by business owner type. If we could go ahead and select the women-owned businesses option, Taylor. Now we can see a list of all businesses that fall within the apparel category and have a business owner type of a woman. Okay, Taylor, we will go ahead and navigate back to the main page using the button on the bottom left where I show you the final feature of my dashboard. To continue the growth of the directory, we wanted owners to be able to add their businesses to the directory. They can do this by clicking the button on the top right of the dashboard that will take them to a submission form where their business will be criteria screened before being officially added to the directory. Thank you, Taylor. Now, as we return back to our presentation, we would like to bring your attention back to why these dashboard concepts were created. Exposure and network are essential in helping underrepresented businesses succeed and thrive. It helps them maintain and grow their audience, which in turn grows their business. With the help of our esteemed partners, easily accessible directories, and intuitive navigation, we can create resources for these businesses that will help them gain the exposure they deserve and better expand their networks, while also helping close an information gap between business owners and the people who would like to support them. Thank you for your time today. This concludes our presentation.
Great work, guys. Thank you so much for that. These teams were challenged to create visualizations of this data, and it's incredibly hard. And then also visualize the directory. I was very, very proud of what everybody has accomplished. I think at this point, I think I'm turning it over to questions.
Yes.
Or Hayley Hoppy. Thank you.
Yes. Hey, I'm Hayley Hoppy, Director of Engagement. Judges, we've got 5 to 7 minutes to ask questions for the group. So I will go ahead and let you get started. I know somebody had a question for group 1, so let's just go in order.
Thanks, Hayley. Great job, team. Did you find that the data that you were collected from the responses was accurately reflective of all the businesses in the area? Did you take the data, or were you able to take the data of the responses, and did it actually reflect what you saw in the total businesses that were not responding to it? Like, I guess my question is, were responses reflective of the businesses at large?
First, let me make sure. Are you speaking to team 1?
Yeah, I'm sorry, team 1.
Okay, no, that's okay. No
worries. Y'all did a great job of kind of describing the demographics and how all those data broken down. Did you find that to be reflective of what actually existed in the Birmingham community?
Yes, and Jasmine, feel free to chime in. I can speak for what I specifically was looking at, and that was just hitting the big points, which was compiled of all of the surveys combined. So my numbers are going to be bigger than the other people that were in my team, my cohort, because theirs was more specific questions and catered to different things. So I hope that I've answered your question.
I guess my question, just as a quick follow-up, was,
sure.
I think you had 612 responses with 207 owner demographic responses. Did you find that 207 owner demographic responses of, how many women-owned businesses, how many how many mail-in businesses. Did you find that reflective of the total businesses in the Birmingham community? Did that scale, I should say?
Well, no, because there were some people that did not answer the question. Does that answer your question? Oh, and Robin is telling us now we did not explore that.
So I'll jump in there and help her out. We did not have the amount of time to explore how it looked statistically over the entire population, but that's an excellent next step. Thank you so much.
No, great job, guys.
Yeah, I would say I've got a question if I could jump in here. Hayley, I would second all the congratulations on the presentations out there. Phenomenal. It's really awesome. Dealing with data, a lot of times you are specifically kind of trying to make sure the data is complete. What sort of processes and what sort of anomalies did you run into in terms of, like, you know, what was the criteria for saying this is good complete data versus, you know, having to throw out survey respondents?
John, is this for group 2?
In place? Yeah, for group 2. Yeah, sorry about that. I was kind of just curious about the parameters put in place in terms of ensuring quality data.
So I think, like, can you repeat the question one more time just so I make sure I got it right?
Yeah, sorry. Just curious about the parameters put in place and kind of the methodologies put in place to ensure that the data coming in was complete. Not necessarily, I guess, accurate is another thing, but complete. Was there any criteria that said if the data arrived without this, it was not part of our data that we analyzed, or what sort of parameters did y'all put in place for that?
Yeah. So I think for my part in particular, when breaking down the barriers, we definitely had that filter where if they weren't submitted as the owner of the business or on behalf of the business owner, they didn't get that barrier question specifically, so that we could, I mean, a lot of people can speculate if they're submitting just as an ally or patron, whether or not the business experiences, you know, X number of barriers, but we wanted to get those answers specifically from people that were submitting as business owners or on behalf of the business. And as far as validating from there further, like, we just looked through the data. As Robin said, Riddell scanned it for like duplicates. We did have a few that were like submitted as the owner, and then a duplicate one that was submitted by someone who is on behalf of the owner for the same business. So we just filtered those down. And when we filtered those down, we kept the one that was submitted as the owner.
Got it. Makes sense. Good. Thanks. Great job.
Hey, Hayley, I had a question for group 3. This is Ben for Hayley and Zakiyah. So how did your research and data on the available monetary resources for minority and women-owned businesses change your perspective on our current situation in Birmingham and the region? I can repeat that if you like.
How did it change? I think that in general, overall, even nationwide, that things are improving. There are more agencies, there are more support, there are more aid. There's more awareness for this type of promotion. So I think things are improving. And I think as with things like the directory and rebuilding the 4th Avenue districts and initiatives like this survey, then we will increase awareness and we will keep the motivation going. My studies included that women and minority-owned businesses, if we really get behind them and show them support, offer them seed money, that they thrive. They increase employment, they increase revenue overall for the entire nation, not just the local communities. So I think that this is an effort worthwhile.
Excellent. Great answer. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for the final 2 teams, the 4th Avenue history team and the directory teams?
I had one for group, was there a group 6, Mina?
No, it's group, we have group 4 and 5.
Okay. This one was for the acceptance, Mina, an acceptance. Can we go out of order? Can I ask one for that group?
Yep.
Perfect. So great job as well on this. So how do you feel that your dashboard and your data can help our region to be a more accepting and aware environment?
Visibility. We've talked about this entire presentation, how many barriers that these minority, women, and marginalized communities face. And one of the biggest ones is visibility, letting people know that these businesses exist, what they can get there, what these businesses and services can do for them. So by creating these concepts that could be, embedded into these organizations' websites and shared overall, is going to build visibility within our local community of what these businesses have to offer. And with that visibility comes more patronage. And I'm hoping that, like I said, as we're still collecting survey data for this, people are still filling out this survey, it's going to continue to be spread and to grow. And that the specific groups that I represented, the Hispanic and Latino community and the LGBTQ community, we didn't have a lot of representation in our survey. And I'm hoping that as this grows, that we can have more representation there, because those are two of our most least represented minority and marginalized groups. I hope I answered your question.
You did. Thank you. Thanks, Mina.
Do we have a question for group 4?
Yeah, I had a question for group 4. Sarah, Josh, y'all did a really good job. When you talked about building out the virtual mall, were there intervening with 20% of the businesses in that 4th Avenue business district having no online experience or access? How challenging did you see, or are there intermediate steps that they could do to get to the point where they could build out a virtual mall? It seemed like there's a gap there. Do you think that there's a step that they could take in between to kind of help them get there?
I think building an intermediate website for them would help, but the transition to the virtual mall is fairly simple. And I think the dashboards that team like group 5 built, it would not be hard to transition over, because all they have to do then is link to the directory and link into that. And the mapping is also very simple too, because you can break down from the historic 4th Avenue that everybody in group 5 on their dashboard symbols have built. So it's honestly just going through there and blacklist their urban impact and help them build a simple website. And it would be a minimal amount of money for that. And, you already have your shopping apps for all your fast food restaurants, and that could be delivered. And that's how the virtual mall is. It's by region. So there's restaurants in New Jersey, New York, Chicago, Atlanta. So when you go into restaurants, it's all over the place, and it just selects it up and syncs and says, you're not in the region for delivery, but here's some information about this restaurant. So if it wants to be a franchise, you can go that route too. So there's always a way to support them. And it's just making that first initial step in that community.
I love that. Thank you.
And also with Main Street Alabama and Urban Impact really trying to revitalize this area, they already have some funding and stuff to, probably be able to focus a little bit more on the online presence as well.
All right, thank you so much. Great answers, participants, and great questions, judges. We really appreciate it. I'm going to pass it off to Robin to introduce our web dev class.